Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world obsessed with goals. We set goals at the beginning of the year. We write goals in our journals. We create vision boards. We talk about where we want to be in 5 years. And yet, despite all this goal setting, most people never achieve the things they dream about. Not because their goals are too big, not because they lack talent, not because they don't want success badly enough. They fail because they build the goal before they build the habit. Think about it. A goal is something you want. A habit is something you do. And what you do every day will always matter more than what you want someday. Imagine two people. The first person says, I want to write a book. The second person says, I write 1 page every day. Who do you think eventually becomes an author? The one with the goal or the one with the habit? The answer is obvious. Because goals don't change your life. Habits do. A goal is a destination. A habit is the vehicle. And no matter how beautiful the destination looks, you will never reach it if you refuse to build the vehicle that takes you there. The mistake many people make is that they become emotionally attached to the result. They want the promotion. They want the business. They want the healthier body. They want the financial freedom, but they don't fall in love with the daily actions required to earn those things. Everyone wants the outcome. Very few are willing to commit to the process. And that's where the difference is made. Success is rarely dramatic. Most of the time, it is incredibly boring. It's waking up early when nobody is watching. It's practicing when nobody is applauding. It's studying when nobody is grading. It's doing the work on the days when you don't feel inspired. Because the truth is, motivation is unreliable. Some mornings you'll feel unstoppable. Other mornings you'll feel tired, distracted, and uncertain. If your success depends on motivation, success will always be inconsistent. But habits don't ask how you feel. Habits simply ask whether you're going to show up. And every time you show up, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. Every workout says, I am someone who takes care of my health. Every page written says, I am a writer. Every honest conversation says, I am a leader. Every disciplined decision says, I am someone who keeps my promises. This is why habits are so powerful. They don't just create results. They create identity. And identity is the foundation of lasting change. Most people try to change their life from the outside in. They focus on what they want to achieve. The most successful people focus on who they want to become. Because once you become the kind of person who naturally performs the right habits, the results eventually follow. A healthy body becomes a byproduct. A successful career becomes a byproduct. Strong relationships become a byproduct. Leadership becomes a byproduct. The habit comes first. The reward comes later. And that's the hard part. We live in a culture that wants instant gratification. We want immediate results. We want evidence that our efforts are working. But habits often operate in silence. You won't see the impact after 1 day. You may not see it after 1 week. Sometimes you won't see it after 1 month. But beneath the surface, something is happening. Every repetition is strengthening your character. Every disciplined choice is building trust in yourself. Every small action is preparing you for opportunities that have not yet arrived. The challenge is staying committed when the results are invisible, because that's where most people quit. They mistake lack of visible progress for lack of actual progress. But growth is often happening long before it becomes obvious. The bamboo tree spends years developing roots underground before it rises above the surface. People look at the sudden growth and call it an overnight success. What they don't see are the years of preparation. Your habits are those roots. They are building strength beneath the surface. And one day everyone will notice the results. But by then, you'll know the truth. The results were never the cause. They were the consequence. The real victory happened every day you chose discipline over comfort. Every day you chose consistency over excuses. Every day you chose progress over perfection. So if you're chasing a goal right now, I want you to ask yourself a different question. Instead of asking, what do I want to achieve? Ask, what habits must I build? Instead of asking, how can I become successful? Ask, what does a successful person do every day? Because goals can inspire you, but habits transform you. Goals can give you direction, but habits create momentum. Goals may start the journey, but habits ensure you finish it. So don't build the goal first. Build the habit, build the routine, build the discipline, build the system. And when you do, you'll discover something remarkable. The goal you once chased so desperately will eventually become the natural result of who you've become. Because extraordinary lives are not built by extraordinary moments. They are built by ordinary actions repeated consistently over time. Build the habit first, and the goal will take care of itself. One of the biggest misconceptions about success is that it happens in a single moment. We see someone standing on a stage, receiving an award. We see an entrepreneur selling a company for millions. We see an athlete winning a championship. We see a leader inspiring thousands of people. And because we witnessed the moment, we assume the moment created the success. But it didn't. The moment simply revealed it. The truth is, success is rarely an event. Success is a system. What looks like an overnight success story is usually the result of years of invisible effort, years of preparation, years of consistency, years of showing up when nobody was watching. The event gets the attention. The system creates the event. If we don't understand this distinction, we spend our lives chasing moments instead of building foundations. Think about how most people approach their goals. They look for breakthroughs. They look for shortcuts. They look for the one opportunity that will change everything. They believe that if they can just find the right strategy, the right connection, the right moment, success will suddenly appear. But life doesn't work that way. The people who achieve meaningful success are rarely focused on one defining moment. They're focused on the daily process. They understand something that many people overlook. The future is not created by what you do occasionally. The future is created by what you do consistently. Imagine a pilot preparing for a long journey. The destination matters. Of course it does. But once the flight begins, the pilot's attention shifts. He doesn't spend the entire trip staring at the destination. He focuses on the systems. The instruments, the navigation, the fuel levels, the adjustments, the routine procedures, because he understands that reaching the destination depends on managing the process. The same principle applies to every area of life. The person who becomes financially successful doesn't wake up wealthy one morning. They build habits around saving, learning, investing, and making thoughtful decisions. The person who becomes healthy doesn't achieve it through one workout. They achieve it through thousands of choices made over time. The person who becomes a respected leader doesn't earn trust in a day. Trust is built through consistent actions repeated over months and years. What creates extraordinary outcomes is not extraordinary effort once. It's ordinary effort repeated consistently, yet many people resist this idea because systems aren't exciting. Systems are repetitive. They're predictable. Sometimes they're boring. And we live in a culture that celebrates excitement. We celebrate dramatic transformations. We celebrate sudden victories. We celebrate spectacular results, but we rarely celebrate consistency. And consistency is where success is actually born. Consider the difference between motivation and systems. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. Some days you wake up energized and ready to conquer the world. Other days you don't. If your success depends entirely on motivation, progress will always be unpredictable. But systems don't care about emotions. Systems operate regardless of how you feel. A system says, this is what I do, not this is what I do when I feel like it. And that's a powerful distinction. Because the people who achieve remarkable things aren't necessarily more motivated than everyone else. Often, they're simply more committed to their systems. They've created routines that make progress inevitable. They've reduced the number of decisions they need to make. They've built structures that support their goals. Instead of asking themselves every morning whether they should do the work, they've already decided. The work is part of the system, and systems create freedom. That might sound strange. Most people think discipline restricts freedom, but the opposite is often true. Discipline creates freedom, because when you have a reliable system, you no longer waste energy negotiating with yourself. No longer spend every day deciding whether to move forward. The decision has already been made. You simply follow the process. Think about the people you admire, the leaders, the creators, the innovators, the performers. What separates them from others is not usually talent alone. It's their commitment to the process. While others are waiting for inspiration, they are working. While others are waiting for the perfect conditions, they are improving. While others are focused on immediate results, they are focused on long-term systems. And over time, that difference becomes enormous. The challenge is that systems often produce delayed rewards. You can follow a system for weeks without seeing dramatic results. You can work hard and still feel like you're standing still. You can make progress that nobody notices, including yourself. And that's where most people give up. Not because the system isn't working, but because the rewards haven't arrived yet. We live in a world that wants immediate feedback. We want proof. We want evidence. We want confirmation that our efforts are paying off. But some of the most valuable systems in life require patience. The seeds you plant today may not grow tomorrow. The habits you build today may not transform your life next week. The skills you practice today may not become visible for months. Yet every action matters. Every repetition matters. Every commitment matters. Because success compounds. Small improvements accumulate. Tiny actions multiply. Daily disciplines stack on top of one another until eventually they create outcomes that seem extraordinary. And when people finally notice the result, they often misunderstand what happened. They see the success. They don't see the system. They see the achievement. They don't see the years of preparation. They see the victory. They don't see the thousands of small choices that made the victory possible. What appears sudden is often the result of a process that has been unfolding quietly for a very long time. This is why focusing solely on goals can be dangerous. Goals have an ending. Systems continue. Once a goal is achieved, many people lose direction. They stop growing because they were attached to the destination. But people who focus on systems never stop improving. Their identity isn't tied to a single achievement. Their identity is tied to the process itself. They don't just want success. They want to become the kind of person who consistently creates success. And that's a much more powerful mindset because achievements come and go. Circumstances change, markets change, challenges emerge, but a strong system remains valuable in every season of life. The habits that helped you achieve one goal can help you achieve another. The discipline that carried you through one challenge can carry you through the next. The system becomes part of who you are. And ultimately, that's what sustainable success looks like. Not one big moment, not one lucky break, not one extraordinary event, but a collection of ordinary actions performed with extraordinary consistency. So don't spend all your time searching for the breakthrough. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Don't convince yourself that success is hiding somewhere in the future, waiting for the right moment to appear. Instead, build the system, build the routine, build the habits, build the process. Because when the system is strong, the results eventually follow. And when they do, people will call it success. But you'll know the truth. It was never about one event. It was always about the system. Most people believe that change begins when they achieve something significant. They believe they will become confident after they succeed. They believe they will become disciplined after they accomplish their goals. They believe they will become leaders after they receive a title. They believe they will become strong after they overcome a challenge. But life rarely works that way. The truth is, who you become is not determined by one big decision. It is determined by thousands of small ones. Because small actions shape identity, and identity shapes destiny. Think about it. Every day, whether we realize it or not, we are casting votes for the type of person we are becoming. Every action is a vote. Every decision is a vote. Every habit is a vote. The question is not whether you're shaping your identity. The question is what identity you're shaping. When someone says, I want to be successful, what they're really saying is, I want to become someone capable of creating success. When someone says, I want confidence, what they're really saying is, I want to become someone who believes in themselves. When someone says, I want to be respected, what they're really saying is, I want to become someone worthy of trust. And yet most people focus entirely on the result. Very few focus on the person they must become to achieve it. They chase outcomes while ignoring identity. But outcomes are temporary. Identity is lasting. And the most powerful changes in life happen when you stop asking, what do I want? And start asking, who do I want to become? Because once you answer that question, everything changes. Your daily actions begin to matter in a different way. Suddenly, a small action is no longer just a small action. It becomes evidence of who you are. Imagine someone who wants to become a writer. Writing one page doesn't seem significant. One page won't change their life. One page won't make them famous. One page won't make them successful. But that's not the point. The page is proof that they are becoming a writer. Now imagine someone who wants to become healthy. One workout seems insignificant. One healthy meal seems insignificant. One early morning seems insignificant. But each action is reinforcing an identity. Each action is saying, this is who I am. And that is where transformation begins, not in the result, in the repetition. Because identity is not built in a single moment. It is built through consistency. Most people underestimate the power of small actions because they judge them by immediate results. They ask, will this matter today? But the better question is, who is this helping me become? Because the impact of a small action is often invisible at first. The benefit may not appear immediately. The reward may not be obvious. But every action leaves a mark. Every action strengthens a belief. And eventually, those beliefs become part of your identity. Think about trust. Trust isn't built overnight. Don't trust someone because of one conversation. You trust them because of repeated experiences. Trust them because they consistently do what they say they will do. Over time, trust becomes natural. The same thing happens with self-trust. Begin trusting yourself when you repeatedly keep promises to yourself. Every time you say you're going to do something and follow through, confidence grows. Not because of the action itself, but because you're proving something to yourself. You're proving that your words matter. Proving that your commitments matter. You're proving that you can rely on yourself. And there is no greater source of confidence than self-trust. Many people think confidence comes from winning, but confidence often comes from consistency. It comes from showing up. It comes from doing the work. It comes from keeping promises. It comes from building evidence. Because confidence is not something you think your way into. It's something you act your way into. The challenge is that we live in a culture obsessed with big moments. We celebrate grand achievements. We celebrate milestones. We celebrate dramatic transformations. But real growth is usually quiet. It happens when nobody is watching. It happens in ordinary moments. It happens in choices that seem too small to matter. And because those choices seem small, many people ignore them. They convince themselves that one missed workout doesn't matter, one broken promise doesn't matter, one excuse doesn't matter. And they're right. One doesn't matter, but one becomes two, two becomes 10, 10 becomes a pattern, and patterns become identity. In the same way that positive actions shape identity, negative actions do as well. Every time we choose convenience over commitment, we're reinforcing a belief. We avoid responsibility, we're reinforcing a belief. Every time we quit when things become difficult, we're reinforcing a belief. The danger is not the action itself, the danger is the story it creates. Because eventually we begin to see ourselves through the lens of our repeated behavior. We start believing we are the person our habits suggest we are. That's why changing your life is rarely about making one massive decision. It's about making a different decision repeatedly. It's about choosing the person you want to become, one action at a time. People we admire understand this, great leaders understand this. They don't become trusted because of one speech. They become trusted because of years of consistent behavior. Great athletes understand this. They don't become champions because of one performance. They become champions because of countless practices. Great entrepreneurs understand this. They don't build successful companies because of one idea. They build them because of thousands of disciplined actions. The extraordinary is built from the ordinary, always. What makes someone remarkable is not that they do something remarkable once. It's that they do the right things consistently for a very long time. And eventually, consistency creates identity. Identity creates behavior. Behavior creates results. Results create opportunities. And opportunities create the future. But it all starts with a small action, a single decision, a simple choice, a vote cast for the person you want to become. So if you're waiting for a dramatic breakthrough to change your life, you may be waiting a long time. Because lasting transformation rarely arrives as a lightning bolt. It arrives as a habit. It arrives as a routine. It arrives as a choice repeated again and again. You don't become a leader overnight. You lead one conversation at a time. Don't become disciplined overnight. You make one disciplined choice at a time. You don't become successful overnight. Perform one successful habit at a time, and eventually something remarkable happens. The actions that once felt difficult begin to feel natural. The habits that once required effort become automatic. The person you once hoped to become becomes the person you are. Not because of one extraordinary moment, but because of thousands of ordinary ones. Because in the end, identity is not something you discover. Identity is something you build. And you build it through the small actions you choose every single day. So choose carefully. Because every action is shaping a future version of yourself. Every habit is writing a story. Every decision is casting a vote. And with every small action, you are becoming someone. The only question is who. There is a belief that holds many people back from becoming who they are capable of becoming. It sounds harmless at first. In fact, it sounds reasonable. People say, I'm just waiting for motivation. They believe that one day they will wake up feeling ready. Ready to start the business, ready to write the book, ready to get healthy, ready to pursue the dream, ready to change their life. And so they wait. They wait for inspiration, they wait for confidence, they wait for certainty, they wait for the perfect feeling. But here's the problem. Motivation is temporary, motivation is emotional, motivation is unpredictable, and if your future depends on something unpredictable, future becomes unpredictable too. The reality is that motivation was never designed to carry us all the way to our destination. Motivation is often what gets us started, but habits are what keep us moving. Think about any area of your life where you've achieved something meaningful. Maybe it was a degree. Maybe it was a career milestone. Maybe it was learning a skill. Maybe it was overcoming a difficult challenge. Whatever it was, chances are you were not motivated every single day. There were days when you were excited. There were days when you felt unstoppable. There were days when everything seemed possible. But there were also days when you felt tired. Days when you doubted yourself. Days when you wanted to quit. Days when doing nothing seemed far more appealing than doing the work, and yet you continued. Not because motivation stayed, but because commitment did. This is one of the most important lessons we can learn. The people we admire are not people who remain motivated forever. They are people who continue even after motivation disappears, because motivation is a feeling. Habits are a decision, and decisions are far more reliable than feelings. The challenge is that we live in a world that celebrates motivation. We love motivational videos. We love inspirational quotes. We love stories that make us feel energized, and there is nothing wrong with that. Inspiration can be powerful. A single message can change the way we think. A single idea can spark action. A single moment can create momentum. But momentum and consistency are not the same thing. Motivation creates momentum. Habits create consistency. And consistency is what changes lives. Imagine someone who decides to get healthy. The first week is exciting. They buy new workout clothes, they plan their meals, they feel inspired. They tell everyone about their new commitment. Everything feels possible. Then life happens. The excitement fades. The alarm clock rings early. The weather is bad. Work becomes stressful. Energy levels drop, and suddenly motivation is nowhere to be found. This is where most people stop. Not because they don't want the result. Not because they aren't capable. But because they built their plan on motivation instead of habit. When motivation disappears, so does the behavior. But people who rely on habits respond differently. When they don't feel motivated, they still show up. When they're tired, they still show up. When they're discouraged, they still show up. Not because it's easy. Not because they enjoy every moment. But because the behavior has become part of who they are. And that's the real power of habits. Habits reduce the influence of emotion. They create stability in an unstable world. Because emotions change, circumstances change, energy changes. But a habit provides consistency. Think about brushing your teeth. Most people don't wake up every morning and ask themselves whether they feel motivated to brush their teeth. They simply do it. It's automatic. It's part of their routine. It's part of their identity. Imagine if we approached our goals the same way. Imagine if showing up became automatic. Imagine if learning became automatic. Imagine if exercise became automatic. Imagine if growth became automatic. How different would our lives look? The reason habits are so powerful is because they eliminate unnecessary negotiations. Many people spend enormous amounts of energy arguing with themselves. Should I work out today? Should I write today? Should I study today? Should I take action today? Every day becomes a debate. Every decision becomes a struggle. And eventually that mental exhaustion becomes overwhelming. But habits simplify everything. The decision has already been made. You don't ask whether you're going to do it. You simply do it. And that creates freedom. Because every successful person eventually learns a difficult truth. You cannot trust your feelings to guide your future. There will be days when your feelings encourage you, and there will be days when your feelings betray you. If you only act when you feel inspired, progress will always be inconsistent. But if you act because you've built a habit, progress becomes reliable. This doesn't mean habits make things easy. They don't. There will still be difficult days. There will still be moments of doubt. There will still be setbacks. The difference is that habits keep you moving during those moments, and movement matters. Because most failures don't happen because people make one catastrophic mistake. Most failures happen because people stop. They stop showing up. They stop trying. They stop believing. They stop taking small actions. And once momentum disappears, restarting becomes much harder. Habits protect momentum. They keep the engine running, even when progress feels slow, even when results aren't visible, even when nobody is watching. This is why consistency often beats intensity. A person who works hard for 1 week and quits will never outperform someone who works steadily for 1 year. A person who relies entirely on motivation will never outperform someone who relies on discipline. Because success is not about what you do once. It's about what you do repeatedly. And repetition is sustained by habits, not emotions. The most successful leaders understand this. The most successful athletes understand this. The most successful creators understand this. They know that greatness is not built on extraordinary days. It is built on ordinary days. Days when nothing exciting happens. Days when nobody applauds. Days when results seem distant. Days when motivation is absent. Those are the days that matter most. Because those are the days when character is revealed. Anyone can move forward when they feel inspired. Anyone can work hard when they're excited. Anyone can stay committed when everything is going well. The real test comes when motivation leaves. The real test comes when progress slows. The real test comes when nobody is watching. And that's where habits prove their value. Because habits don't ask for enthusiasm. They ask for consistency. They don't demand perfection. They demand repetition. They don't require excitement. They require commitment. And over time, commitment always wins. So if you're waiting to feel motivated before you start pursuing your goals, consider a different approach. Start before you're ready. Take action before you feel confident. Show up before you feel inspired. Build the habit first. Because motivation will come and go throughout your life. Some days it will be strong. Some days it will disappear completely. But habits can remain. Habits can carry you when motivation cannot. Habits can keep you moving when emotions try to stop you. Habits can create progress long after excitement has faded. And in the end, the people who achieve extraordinary things are not the people who stay motivated forever. They are the people who learned how to keep going without it. Because motivation starts the journey, but habits finish it. There is a question that quietly shapes the direction of our lives. It influences our decisions. It affects our habits. It determines how we respond to challenges. And most of us never realize we're asking it. The question is this: what outcome am I trying to achieve? At first, that seems like a perfectly reasonable question. After all, goals matter, results matter, achievements matter. They give us something to pursue. They give us a destination. But there is another question that is far more important, a question that separates those who grow from those who merely dream. That question is, what process am I willing to commit to? Because the reality is simple. Everyone wants the outcome. Few people want the process. Everyone wants confidence. Few people want the uncomfortable experiences that build confidence. Everyone wants success. Few people want the discipline required to create success. Everyone wants respect. Few people want the consistency required to earn respect. Everyone wants the reward. Few people fall in love with the work. And that is where the difference is made. The reason so many people become frustrated is because they focus exclusively on outcomes. They judge their progress by results. They evaluate their worth by achievements. They measure success by what they have accomplished. And when the results don't arrive quickly enough, they become discouraged. They start questioning themselves. They wonder whether they're talented enough, whether they're capable enough, whether they're good enough. But often the problem is not their ability. The problem is their perspective, because outcomes are delayed. Processes are immediate. You cannot always control results, but you can control actions. You cannot guarantee success tomorrow. But you can choose discipline today, and that choice matters more than most people realize. Imagine two individuals beginning the same journey. Both want to write a book. The first person is obsessed with publishing. They imagine holding the finished book. They imagine the recognition. They imagine the achievement. The second person focuses on writing every day. One page, one paragraph, one session at a time. Months later, which person is more likely to succeed? The answer is obvious, because one fell in love with the outcome. The other fell in love with the process. And process always wins. The danger of outcome-focused thinking is that it places happiness in the future. Tells us that satisfaction will come later, after the promotion, after the business succeeds, after the goal is achieved, after life finally becomes what we want it to be. But there is a problem with living this way. The finish line keeps moving. Achieve one goal and immediately create another. You reach one milestone and start chasing the next. Climb one mountain only to discover another standing in front of you. And if your happiness depends entirely on outcomes, spend your entire life waiting for the next achievement, waiting for the next reward, waiting for the next reason to feel fulfilled. But fulfillment is rarely found at the finish line. More often, it is found in the journey. It is found in the daily effort. It is found in meaningful work. It is found in progress. Because human beings are designed to grow. We are designed to learn. We are designed to improve. And when we engage fully in a process of growth, something remarkable happens. The process itself becomes rewarding. Work itself becomes meaningful. Not because it's easy, but because it matters. Think about the people who achieve greatness. Athletes, artists, leaders, entrepreneurs, scientists, writers. The best among them do not endure the process simply to reach the outcome. They genuinely value the process. They respect it. They trust it. They understand that mastery is built there. They understand that character is built there. They understand that growth is built there. While everyone else is fixated on results, they are focused on improvement. One day at a time, one action at a time, one habit at a time. This mindset changes everything. When you focus only on outcomes, setbacks feel devastating. Every obstacle feels like failure. Every delay feels like defeat. Every mistake feels like proof that you are not good enough. But when you focus on the process, setbacks become part of the journey. Mistakes become lessons. Challenges become opportunities. Failures become feedback. You stop seeing obstacles as evidence that you should quit. Start seeing them as evidence that you're learning. And that shift is powerful, because every meaningful pursuit includes difficulty. Every worthwhile dream includes struggle. Every significant achievement includes moments of uncertainty. The people who succeed are not those who avoid these moments. They are those who learn to embrace them, because they understand that the process is not something standing between them and success. The process is success. The late nights, the practice sessions, the lessons learned, the discipline developed, the resilience gained, those things are not separate from the achievement. They are the achievement. And yet, our culture often teaches the opposite. We celebrate trophies, we celebrate awards, we celebrate outcomes. We rarely celebrate preparation. We rarely celebrate consistency. We rarely celebrate the thousands of unseen actions that make success possible. But the truth remains, the trophy is not what changed the person. The process did. The achievement is simply evidence of who they became along the way. Think about a tree. People admire the fruit. They notice the visible result. But the fruit is only possible because of the roots. The roots grow first. The roots grow quietly. The roots grow patiently. Without roots, there is no fruit. Without process, there is no outcome. Yet most people spend their lives staring at fruit while ignoring roots.